Welcome to the InStory show. I'm Devorah Spilman, your host, and our theme is what does it mean to expand into a new story? And how do you come out of hiding and dare to be seen for who you really are by saying yes to your soul and telling your story? Well, today I am thrilled to welcome Paula Brown. She is one of our InStory experts and InStory leadership team members. So, hi, Paula.
Hi, Devorah and audience.
All right, before we dive in, I'm going to read a little bit about Paula. Paula is a soul-spirited poet rooted in the sacred lands of New Zealand. She is the visionary behind Souldāla Expressions, a sacred offering in the art of soul-spirited writing. Her work will invite divine feminine women to awaken, explore, and express the language of their unique soul. Paula honors women's sacred language and remembering. Through poetic reinterpretations and transformative writing and circle ritual practices, her work calls forth the sage and sovereign within us all. Ooh, it's so good. All right, so just like I'm asking everybody else, what does expanding into a new story mean to you?
Okay, thank you, Devorah, for inviting me here and the introduction. So, what does it mean to expand into a new story for me? Uh, Very simply, it means living a soul-led life,
So, what
a
do you
life
mean?
where so living a soul-led life is a life where I live into my true, creative, soul-spirited, divine feminine nature. Um, I listen to my soul, I feel it, and I become the language of it. Um, a soul-led life for me, it's also a life where the soul becomes my compass and my body becomes an oracle and the divine feminine becomes it is the rhythm that I walk by, and it's the life where I finally step into the woman that I was always meant to be. um, it also means carrying my personal intention daily and finding it and expressing soul spirited ways of honoring what my soul came here to do in my life.
I,
And
yeah, I love that because, of course, we have everything, the soul story, everything. So it's so great. And Paula's been in my world for a while, and I really love to have the women who are in my In Story year, and Paula's now in my In Story leadership group team. But to just tell a little bit of your, what I call your In Story story. And how did you get in? How did you join, and how has it affected you? And it's going to lead to kind of this new work that Paul is now doing and how we got there. So maybe start us with a little bit of your in-story journey.
so my in-story journey began back in May 2023. I began full-time care for my mother, who became very unwell, and I'm still full-time caregiver for her. I had been following Devorah for about a year, and I felt that I needed something to nourish my soul while I was doing this caring. I love Devorah's work, and I decided to join the Soul Story course first, 8-week course, and I absolutely loved that. And I felt the shift, I felt the transformation already beginning to happen within me, as in, doing the guided process work, going into creative and spiritual imagination. I felt my imagination and something shift with my creativity. I always believed I wasn't creative, couldn't be creative. um, and that then led me to that wonderful experience. I decided to join the 12-month program and met some wonderful women. And with Devorah's beautiful guidance and leadership and work, her magical work, things shifted even faster and stronger for me. So I actually had a creative download within about 3 months of the 12-month program, and I at the time I thought it was nothing, and it was what I later now call Souldāla Expressions, accessing the language of your unique soul, and that journey. Um, Over the 12 months led me to exploring the language of the soul and writing poetry, writing what I call soul spirited poetry, and my whole creative poetic expression opened up like a rose. And I felt like it just bloomed and blossomed and continues to. It's now not just one bloom, it's growing into a field. Um, and it was absolutely a wonderful and amazing meeting and working with the other ladies. And I just feel like I have grown so much. I have felt the transformation. And it has given me a vision. It has taken me back to where I now believe, I was meant to walk. I was meant to be. And um, yeah, that's been fascinating, fabulous, and opened up a mythic part of me as well too.
And it's so
Mm.
funny, we aren't going to go into it a lot, but in one of the other interviews Paul and I did, she told me that when she was a kid in school, right? Didn't you tell me that you had a
Yes.
teacher who told you couldn't just tell the brief of that, because I want people to see what's possible no matter what you were told when you were a kid.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was 15 and at English class, and I couldn't interpret a poem that the teacher presented to us, and I actually got put in detention for that. So I decided that I didn't like poetry, wasn't having anything to do with poetry at all. So yeah, that briefly that was my experience, and that stayed with me for years, years until I was in, my mid 50s. Mm.
Right. And so a lot of times this is what happens, is that natural expressive part of ourselves gets shut down. But the good news is you do get to have it back. Like it does come back. And so Paul is in leadership, has been on the show before, but something new has developed. And I want you to tell me a little bit about this new area that has developed with your poetry that was somewhat both natural and surprising to you, and significant to me as well.
Okay, so this new area that developed for me is what I call Souldāla Expressions. It is the soul spirited writing. Um, and I love this question, Devorah, because it lets me name what I believe is my lineage and my vision. Um, it's the moment where I get to share and speak the truth of what Souldāla Expressions actually is, and it's not as a definition, but for me, it's like a living field, a creative current that comes through me when we do this work, and it's a soul language, a sort of soul alchemy, and what I call a soul listening realm kind of thing. um, it's a way of writing, creating that comes from the deepest part of the self, myself, at the moment, and I want that for other women as well. It's writing that doesn't begin in the mind, but in the body, in the breath, in the memory, and in the soul, and brings forth not just the language of the soul, they're languages of the soul. Images, metaphors, symbols, it brings those forth, and it's I access those through the InStory work that we do, and by myself as well. I call Souldāla Expressions poetic feather and fountain creations because it feels like those two energies where there's the meeting of the wisdom of the owl, the feather, and there used to be the quills used to be the writing tool uh, for ancient peoples, and that was very beautiful for me. And also the fountain, the fountain is a symbol of eternal flow and waters coming from Mother Earth, but flowing up through and fountain pens. So then that transforming into fountain pen. So the writing. So there's all those little things in there that emerged for me as being symbolic of that. Uh, Souldāla Expressions is, and it will be, a place where the divine feminine woman speaks through her pen. And today we'll talk about more where grief becomes beauty and where memory becomes ritual, through the writing of the pen, you know, with the language of the soul being at the flow of the fountain for that.
No, it's so beautiful. But so, all right. So talk about the most recent experience that you've been having when you had somebody who's been like a long, long time dear friend who is dying, and how this, without you realizing it, kind of came together with the Souldāla and the poetic expressions and the language of the soul and all of that. So just tell us a little bit about this friend and who he is and what happened with that and where it's kind of going, because I think it's significant.
Okay. So his name is John Wright, and he was a neighbour, a dear neighbour, living right next door to us. I met John in 2008, and over time, he taught me a lot about gardening. And anyway, we became very good friends, with the whole family. And I used to call John my big brother, and his wife Rose my big sister. Yeah, so beautiful people. Very sadly, John was diagnosed with cancer in October 2024, and he passed away in October 2025. So my journey, what happened with John is that when he, shared with us that he had this diagnosis, and he only expected to survive about another 6 months. But what I decided to do, I sat and I was listening to some music, beautiful music one day, and what came to me from my soul was to write a personal poetic eulogy. I wanted to express to him all the love that he had given me in my life and that I had felt from him, in appreciation of being a big brother, and helping me with the garden, helping me paint an outside of our house when my stepdad wasn't able to, and all the sharing and the good times and the laughs we'd all had as families together. And John was also a gentleman where you could sit and have a conversation. And I went through a really hard patch in Wellington. My house actually caught fire, and I had a 3-year legal battle. But John helped me through with my stepdad with some writing of how to work through that. So I had huge things to be grateful to John for. So, as I do when I access the language of my soul, I set hand on my heart, I do a meditation, and then I ask my soul, what does it want to express? What does my soul want to reveal to me? How can I express my love for John as a big brother? So I wrote that poetic eulogy, and then I asked him and his wife Rose permission to read that to him, read that to them, share that with them when they were ready. And John said to me, Paula, yeah, I so want to hear that. Read it to me when I'm in bed and I can't get out of bed any longer. So that was his wish. Yeah. So I did that, and I also did another couple of things, Devorah. I also learned that John loved poetry. He read poetry. I didn't know that about him. I learned that he had been a sailor for 25 years, a cook on sailing boats for 25 years. So and he was Welsh was his ancestral lineage, and I have Scottish lineage. So I decided to look for a Celtic poem. So I found one, and I call it, actually in poetry, call it a found poem, and then I change some aspects of it, but it was about sailing, and it was about sailing off into the sea to be with the Lord.
Wow.
Um, so it was really, really beautiful. And also, I chose the lyrics of a song which is called "The Secret Garden," because gardening had also been the thing that we'd all shared as well. So, and it was called "The Secret Garden," but the actual lyrics of the song was about walking with someone when their soul returns and wishing them well on their way. Uh, so that day did come, Devorah, and I went up to the house. His wife had invited me to come up. So I went up to their place and I spoke a little ritual before I walked into the room, spoke a prayer, and then by this time, John had just gone into that not speaking phase, which actually lasted about 3 weeks in the end. However, I sat at his bedside. His wife was there, his youngest daughter, and a dear friend, and I spoke these three things: this poetic eulogy, this poem, and the lyrics of the song. And it was very, very moving. And the ladies were all in tears. And at one part, I thought they might want me to stop, and they said, "No, please carry on, please carry on." And John squeezed my hand, about 4 times as I was doing that. So I knew that he was listening and could hear.
Wow.
And yeah, and then I kissed him and I said, farewell. Um, and yeah, that was a very beautiful, moving moments. And with his wife as well. And his wife and daughter asked me to read that sailing poem to everybody at his funeral as his last blessing. So that whole experience, and I can feel the emotion of that
Yeah.
as I speak. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was very beautiful. So that was something new for me, doing that, and I knew that was born and birthed from the work I'd been doing with InStory and with what my soul was wanting me to bring forth, and poetry group, and then I was so interested in what I had done, what had just happened. I actually went and did a little bit of research on rituals, ancient rituals, what priestesses did when people were dying and passing over. But the other important thing I learnt, which I didn't do but I will do next time that situation occurs, and it may be at my mother's, is also speak a blessing. If I'm present when they pass over, actually speak a blessing to, call in, circle in the gods and goddesses to hold us and carry their soul, and just do a lovely. I've put that in the free gift
Hmm.
for everybody.
That's beautiful. You know what? When you first told this to me when in one of our leadership meetings, I was, or maybe you took a couple of times when I was so moved because you did this for somebody else, and I I have this expression when something feels very significant to me, and when I'll say to the person, "That's a thing,"
Mm,
and that has weight, and I'm like, Paula, that's a thing. And when I say that, what I mean is it's something more than it was just in the moment. It's not done. It can be turned into something that can help others, can be shaped, can be formed, and can be followed through on. And a lot of times I think when I have that and I say that to someone, they don't necessarily see it that way yet. Because when something happens to you kind of organically, it just feels like this is just what I did in the moment. I mean, that's all it is. So
mm,
you can say what happened to you when I said it, because this is part of what happens when you do work together. It's like, Paula, this is a thing. What I mean by that is you have something you can teach to others that will help, because you talk about this too. So often there's this terrible silence and nothing to say.
mm. And Devorah, that moment that you said that to me, it was like my heart missed a beat. It was like literally like, and I just sort of went into um, that space of, oh, oh, that can actually be a thing. Like I went into that immediate questioning, and with all your wisdom, I thought Devorah is definitely seeing something here. And I love the way that Devorah shares with us when she sees something and she tells you something's a thing. You know something's a thing, but you haven't connected with that quite yet. So it was that oh moment. um, and I had to go. I went away and reflected on that. I had to go away and think about that. And Devorah's words kept ringing in my ear. Paula, that's a thing. That's a thing. Um, and then we spoke about it again. And so with your encouragement, Devorah, that really cemented and anchored for me. Yes, this is a thing. And and then I had a dream one night about this way of being with the people dying, and so the next thing that happened, my mum's best friend was also in the process of passing over, and I was sitting beside her bed, which I literally did later, but it was like she came to me in the dream and I was sitting holding her hand at the bedside, and I was there alone. And that actually happened, um, like when Mum and I were going and visiting her best friend of 26 years, and my second mum, I called her. She was in bed, for about the last month, and Mum and I would go each week and sit, and I would read her poetry, nature poetry, because she loved her garden, loved her flowers, and that was the thing that we talked about the beauty of nature and Mother Earth. And so on the very last day of the visit, I went. We got a call from her daughter in the morning and said, "Mum wants to see you and Jan." And by the time we were ready to go, Mum was feeling very unwell. And so I went by myself. By the time I got there, she'd gone into that already, like that unconscious, no longer talking stage. Um, and yes, I sat there for an hour and read her this poetry and held her hand and kissed her forehead as I do with people, kiss them. And I had that whole hour with her by myself,
Wow.
reading and saying my farewell. My last words were to her, "Carol, thank you for all the love that you have given me in my life."
Wow. 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 Well, I think that it's
Mm.
if it gives you a way to connect that's so meaningful because people don't know what to say. And this idea of
Yes,
looking for poems is just such a brilliant thing.
yes, yeah. It is a beautiful, brilliant thing. Um, and then once again, her daughter invited me to read a poem. I wrote a poem about friendship, for at her funeral service. So, uh, yes, this whole language of the soul. Poetry is the language of the soul. Yeah, it's very beautiful, very magic, and it's just moving and touching, and it's a feeling like no other for me. Uh, and that's the ritual. That's the ritual part of
Mhm.
it. Mm.
Right,
It's
right. Because in stupid moments, we need ritual, right? And so this process of able to
yes,
bring poetry into
yes.
or by the side of people who are dying is something that I have never heard anyone talk about, and I think it's profound.
Mm. And it's so wonderful with InStory to be with the other ladies that have their ways of being creative and share from their soul, and each week we do this ritualistically. This is this is also the what I term, this is the InStory pilgrimage for me. It's more than a journey, and it's a wonderful work that takes you to places that you never envisaged, never thought you could go, and it awakens something in you. It helps bloom something within you. So and then so then you can take that to the world, to other women too. As your beautiful saying that you step out and help somebody else in the world. Mm. Lead with our
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
Lead with
And
our
I,
light.
right.
Your adage.
100%. Yes, lead with your light and lead in your lane.
Lead in
But
your lane.
sometimes you
That's the one.
discover a new lane.
Yes.
All right, so tell a little bit about the free gift you created to help people to tap into how to use this poetry, this soul, spirited poetry with people who are dying. What a gift.
Thank you, Devorah. Yes, I've created quite a what I call as a lengthy gift. It's a gift edition for I've called it the Fountain of Sensuality, because the Fountain of Sensuality is one of the four elements of the four fountains that I'm creating in my Souldāla Expressions model. It is called Forever Farewells, and it's a sacred last words ritual. And what it is gives the reader uh, ideas, different ways of, for example, seeking permission from a family, a beloved one, to write and read something. Different ways that you can do that, as I expressed earlier, like actually writing a poem, speaking song lyrics, or um, just writing special words, but also, and then it gets down to the last words. So I've got some examples there of words that people can bloom into their own last words, but it's just like prompts just to give, or little short little sentences, sentence stems for people to have ideas of. Yes, I'd like to say that, or actually, that triggers something else. I want to say something else. But it covers quite a bit, and at the end of that is a last prayer for when the person has passed over, and if you're present in the room and you want, and there's that silence, there's that cloak of silence comes into the room, to let that cloak of silence be there for a minute or two, and then to speak a blessing. So this is ritual work for the divine feminine woman from
Mhm.
my own my own interpretation, and I think because it's not spoken about these days much, Devorah. It's not ritualized like it used to be, and not everybody has any access to anybody else that would do it another way, that'd be religious or whatever. So this is purely myself being a woman, that in the absence of having any support or teachings, whatever. This is the only thing I did do was do a bit of research on the ancient rituals out of interest. But this is in my opinion, the beautiful sensual way, that is infused with peace and mystery, and of course love.
Mhm.
For that person and the people that are in the room
Yeah,
when that moment comes, and it may be that it's before that moment comes. It may be your last visit is 3 weeks before.
right.
But it's a gift
Yeah. It,
for.
it it-
Mm,
it's a sacred tool for how to bring words of meaning into a difficult moment. So
mm,
get the free gift, read through it, and take a moment to feel, what is it saying to you? Those of you who get it, what is it saying to you? Because unfortunately, we all end up with times that we're the person nearby when someone is leaving this world. And or when someone is in a long-term illness. It's like also a way to bring something beautiful to them. So click the link, get the free gift, read the whole thing, and then choose what parts awaken something in you. So really beautiful, Paula. So just leave us with one or two last thoughts before we wrap up.
Okay, so just one more thing about the free gift. At the very end, I've got a reference list for you to, access some poets and that. And a treat which I haven't shared with Devorah yet is that there is a link in there for Quill of the Goddess by Jen Miller. In there is my first published poem, and
Yay!
it is called Rebirth in a Desert, and it is also about losing someone and coming through that journey. Yeah, proud, very proud of that, and I hope that you find something in the gift that helps you on that journey, to saying your final farewells to someone. So my final word is yes, live into your true creative, divine, feminine, soul spirited nature. Yeah, soul spirited love and cosmic blessings to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. That's so awesome. Oh, I can't wait to go read your story and see it in that book. That's so exciting. It's true I haven't seen it yet. All right, everybody, grab the free gift, take it to heart, and see where it leads you. And as I always say in farewell, remember to go out in the world, share your story, live your purpose, and be a blessing. Bye, folks.